death. A separate count of corrupting another with drugs as a felony of the 4th degree was also returned in count 11, where it is alleged that Little furnished marijuana to Jonathan Minard. Grand jury also returned indictments for the offense of tampering with evidence as a felony of the 3rd degree, where it is alleged that Little removed or concealed Jonathan's body knowing that an investigation was about to be or likely to commence. In addition, a felony 5 count of gross abuse of a corpse was returned by the grand jury, where it is alleged that Little disposed of Jonathan Minard's body in a way that would outrage reasonable community senses. This count contained a specification that a motor vehicle to which Little had an interest in was used to facilitate the offense and thereby subjecting it to forfeiture. Grand jury also returned a felony 5 count of possession of heroin, wherein it is alleged that during the search of Little's residence during the course of the investigation, a small amount of heroin was found. Finally, the grand jury returned indictment for 2 misdemeanor counts, 1 count of falsification, where it is alleged Little made false statements to investigators with purpose to mislead them during the course of the investigation, and 1 count of failure to report knowledge of a death, in that Little is alleged to have failed to contact authorities upon discovering the deceased. Felonies of the 1st degree are punishable by a minimum of 3 years to a maximum of 11 years of an indefinite sentence to prison. Felonies of the 2nd degree are punishable by a minimum of 2 years of up to 8 years indefinitely. Felonies of the 3rd degree carry a range of punishment from 9 months to 36 months in prison. Felonies of the 4th degree carry a range from 6 months to 18 months in prison. 5th degree felonies, 6 months to 12 months. 1st degree misdemeanors are punishable by up to 6 months in jail, while 4th degree misdemeanors are punishable by up to 30 days in jail. Involuntary manslaughter charges represent different charges that the evidence supports and aren't necessarily 3 separate instances. They are 3 different ways that involuntary manslaughter can be supported by various underlying felonies. The evidence does not suggest that Matthew Herbert Little purposely or with prior calculation and design or otherwise intentionally set out to cause the death of Jonathan Minard or knowingly or intentionally caused his death. The grand jury was given instruction on several theories of homicide elements, including murder, and the indictment that was returned reflects the grand jury's consideration of the applicable rules and the evidence that was before it. The grand jury heard testimony today for approximately 2 hours. Following the grand jury's return, a warrant was issued for Little's arrest. Procedurally, what will occur next is that Little will be brought before Carroll County Common Pleas Court Judge Michael V. Rapella for an initial bond hearing. Thereafter, an arraignment hearing will be scheduled where Little will be formally enter his pleas to the indictment, and we would expect that that arraignment would be scheduled in approximately 1 week. I want to thank Sheriff Williams and his department for the vigilant work as well as the work of all investigators who have assisted. This was a case that involved many hours of investigative work and the processing of a substantial amount of information. Because of the information involved, it took time for all of us to do our due diligence to be able to review the matter and appropriately prepare the case for this stage in the process. And I want to thank the public's patience and understanding for allowing us to do that and to be able to do our jobs. Going forward, this case enters the court proceeding stage. Again, our office, as we have said in the past, will not offer any comments on the substance of the evidence. We will attempt to release information when it's appropriate. However, the discussion of the evidence and other details will not be occurring in this forum, and we would ask you to respect the ethical boundaries that we have in the performance of our duties. We still ask that you respect the family and their privacy as they begin this process. And with that said, I will have copies of the indictment for distributions for you, and I will leave those, and then I'll turn the podium over to Sheriff Williams at this time. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I, too, want to thank you for coming this evening on such short notice. As Mr. Barnett stated, I'd like just to recap on a couple of things. Jonathan Minard was reported missing on the 14th of April. His body was recovered on the 19th of April in a shallow grave on a farm in Washington Township. Now, I feel that some thank yous are in order. Those first couple days, I want to thank the people that turned out to search and look for Jonathan. I want to thank the Delray Fire Department for opening their doors and allowing us to use their facility. I thank the people that supported that cause with food and drinks and water and so on. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. If somebody had a part in that search, I thank you. This case has been a lengthy case. I want to thank my detective bureau. My guys worked on this case diligently for the past few months. I want to thank BCI, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, for their input in this and helping my detectives since day one. I want to thank the FBI for their help in helping our detectives work on this case. This case, from the beginning, there were some things that was evident. There were some things that was not evident. What this sheriff and everyone that worked on this case was wanting the people, the person or persons that was responsible for Jonathan's death. And we are there. They've worked hard and have taken some time to do this case, like the prosecutor said. I appreciate the patience of everyone, but we're glad that we can wind this up, and I thank everyone. Thank you so much.
Can we ask you a few questions?
Just briefly.
Can you explain what happened to Jonathan Minard?
Again, not without... I'm sorry, not without getting into the details of the evidence. I think that would be inappropriate at this point. But as what you have learned already, the coroner's release in terms of his cause of death, and I think the indictment speaks for itself. That obviously we're talking about a drug-related death, and the indictment supports that. Again, I think that calls for talking about the substance of the evidence and understand it as we go forward and as we evaluate the case at all stages. We will review the evidence, and where there's evidence that would support the filing of additional charges, we would proceed appropriately at that point. But I'm not going to speculate or talk about anything in terms of what the evidence would reveal or not.
What was the relation between Matthew Little and Jonathan?
I believe they had spent time together and that they was a family friend. I believe that has been previously released, that Jonathan had spent time working with Mr. Little on the family farm.
And so was he found buried at Little's farm?
Again, I'm not going to talk about the details of the evidence. I believe that's already been in the record. We know it was in Washington Township.
Where was Little arrested at today?
I defer to the sheriff on that because I'm not part of that.
Matt Little was arrested at the farm on Mobile Road today at approximately 3 o'clock by sheriff deputies and brought to the sheriff's office, and he is currently incarcerated in the Carroll County jail.
Now, is that farm, can you step up to the mic, Sheriff? Is that farm on Mobile Road where he was arrested at, is that the same farm where Jonathan was found there?
Yes, it is.
Can you talk a little about his reaction when he was put in handcuffs? What was that interaction like?
I can't, it just seemed, in my opinion, he didn't seem concerned.
Are these
Carroll County Prosecutor.
Can you spell your last name?
Barnett.
And you?
Dale, Sheriff Dale Williams.